So most people deal with problems like this, okay? They have a problem, and instead of addressing the problem, they suppress the problem. So they ignore it, they put on a mask, and they function. I have a core value inside of me, which is I need to live by whatever I'm feeling, whatever the truth is, and then I can resolve it. So I'm really good at fixing other people's problems because I got good at fixing my own. That being said, I have a very strong magnifying glass on my own issues, and when they show up, I'm not going to hide them. Like, I can't hide how I'm feeling. If I don't like you, I don't fucking like you. If I'm not in a good mood, I'm not in a good mood, unless I change it. Point is, how I feel is how I feel. All of you are probably experiencing some version of that, but because you've been used to suppressing it, and that's how you controlled it, it's now coming out. So what's going to happen is if you ignore those negative patterns, any patterns in general, they'll continue to surface. That's fine. That's part of the process. The point is, if you're not aware of it, it will show up. What gets suppressed gets expressed. And now we've removed the lens and the filter that's been allowing you to keep stuffing things in there. So once it comes out, it's gone, right? And people are like, oh, you kind of released it. You're not really releasing it. You're just watching a fucking pattern you've been running your whole life, and then you're like, yeah, that doesn't work for me anymore. So when things are holding you back, you feel defeated, you feel insecure, you feel like a victim, you feel scarcity, it will magnify those emotions. So instead of feeling like you're stuck in those feelings, right? When it's scarcity, finance, all that shit, be like, damn, no wonder I'm not prosperous. No wonder I'm not enjoying my life. No wonder I'm not attracting more wealth because I'm stuck in this stupid fucking loop of, oh, I'll give you an example. This guy, one of the guys that we hired on the sales team, the entire company he was working for went under, and they owe him like 3.5K. Most of my closers can make 2 to 3.5K in a call. Okay, like it's just one phone call and they make it. And the guy's been thinking about it, and we're like, dude, why are you not performing? You were supposedly the top closer. We hired you. We gave you, you gave us your word. What's going on? It's like, well, my last company owes me 3.5K. And we're like, you're so stuck in scarcity. How are you going to talk to someone on the phone and get them to pay you 10K, 50K, 80K? You're not. No wonder you're not closing. No wonder you're burning leads. So either you're going to get into the right mindset or not. And he just can't get with it. You can't get out of that loop. He's stuck in the loop. Now, if you're stuck in the loop, what happens? He's about to lose the second job, right? And then he's going to be even more fucked. Rather than just crawl out the hole and think about, okay, here's the solution, he's stuck on the past. Negative patterns are always you being stuck on something that isn't working out for you. You feel helpless. You feel like I can't get it done. So whenever you feel out of control, you feel like things aren't going your way, your mind goes, well, if I have a negative feeling, maybe I'll get something else. So sometimes you think if I feel like shit, then the goal wasn't to make money. Feeling like shit's never going to make you more money. So when you feel like shit, it's not because deep down you're like, I want to make more. It's because I want to get something from my mom. I want attention. I want sympathy. And sometimes people think if they feel like shit, someone will feel bad enough for them. Maybe they'll give them money. And the ultimate version of this is like a homeless guy on the side of the freeway. Hey, feel bad for me. I have kids and I'm this and I'm that. Give me money even though, I can just go get a job. Well, why do they do that? They do that because that's the ultimate version of this pattern. Is I've been rewarded for being a victim for so long, let's continue to be a victim. The problem is there's only so much wealth you can acquire being a victim. And there's only so much abundance you can attract giving up control. When you have that feeling of, oh wow, I'm so upset, I feel like shit, you are giving control away from what you can actually do. Which is why I hate that state. I cannot stand it when anyone goes into that, oh fuck, I feel bad for myself. So, like whenever I would feel bad for myself, I'd cry when I was young. My mom's like, stop feeling bad for yourself. She'd treat me like shit. She'd literally punish the behavior. So I learned not to be a victim. Like it's almost in my very nervous system, it's like against my being. I don't like sympathy. I don't like when people feel bad for me. Because that implies that I'm not capable of overcoming it, right? There's some implication, like if you feel bad for me, I am not going to overcome this. I'm not able to do anything. So I never allow that to happen, which is why anytime I'm faced with a challenge, it actually invigorates me. It creates a flow state. It puts me in peak performance. I do better under pressure. The more pressure, the more I perform, which is why I'll come on stage and improvise live for hours and hours and hours on end. Now, what you need to do when we're conditioning this new identity is to identify these old patterns that you don't want to take with you, and you want to remove them. So ultimately, what needs to happen is all of you guys have to become aware of all the patterns that have been fucking with you emotionally. These patterns, whatever they may be, are usually in my experience here, whatever patterns there are, there's usually 1 or 2 patterns that you have that have been fucking with you your whole life. It's the same fucking pattern, you run it on repeat, and you'll apply it to every area of your life. If it's scarcity, it applies to your dating life. It applies to your, you're always desperate. You don't have the leverage to walk away. You're always worried they'll leave. You're always worried they'll cheat. You're always worried they'll do something. In business, that pattern will show up because you're scared to spend money. You're always worried to make more. You never want to go start your own venture. You're always kind of like, I want the security. You always go for the comfort. In your health, you never push yourself too much because the gym's a little bit uncomfortable. It's oh shit, I can't do it. Or you'll start and then you'll stop. Because, I don't know. And you always look at the price of something. Is it worth it? Is it not worth it? You look at the price on the menu. When you go to eat food. I'm not going to get guac at Chipotle even though it's $1.50 and it's delicious. I'm not going to get it because it's $1.50, right? Even though $1.50 doesn't fucking matter. And then that's kind of the pattern of scarcity. All of a sudden you might see a pattern of not feeling good enough. Not feeling good enough, all of a sudden, I'm not good enough in relationships. I'm not good enough to start a business. I'm not good enough to get on camera. I'm not good enough to do X, Y, Z. It applies to everything. If I feel shame or regret or embarrassment, that pattern will show up because all of a sudden I'm always shameful. I always feel like I didn't do a good job. I'll replay scenarios in my head thinking, damn, could I have done it better? What could have changed? Well, maybe I should have said that. Maybe we should have done that. Why didn't I try this? All of a sudden Bitcoin starts to go up. Fuck, I knew I should have gotten in Bitcoin. Damn, I'm so stupid. I always fuck up. I always miss the opportunity. So these patterns will show up across the board. How you do one thing is how you do everything. And that truly is the case. People don't realize it because they compartmentalize. So they put one category in one thing and they put one category in another. Compartmentalization is the reason people lose awareness. So how I am on stage, I am in person. How I am in person is the same way I am on a date. Same way I'm on a date, I'm at the gym. I am the same all the time, which is why people connect to me, which is also why people trust me enough to get in their mind and move things around, right? Move some furniture. So because I'm me all the time and I'm very consistent all the time, people can say, okay, I connect. Where are you inconsistent, right? Where I fuck up is when there's a fucking cheesecake in front of me or there's a creme brulee, I want to take a goddamn bite of that, And unless I'm on it and I've been in momentum in the gym, I'm a fuck up, right? So if I don't fuck up, perfect. If I fuck up one time, and when I always fuck up? I know my patterns, at least I'm aware of it, right? My patterns are anytime I start to like a girl and I start going to date like 2, 3, 4, 5 dates with this girl, she's like, let's get dessert. I'm like, all right, let's get dessert. And then I'm like, that was really fun. Fuck, look at how good I feel fucking eating this ice cream. And then you go get another ice cream the next day. Hey, you want to get ice cream? And then before you know it, you're like, oh, I don't want dessert. And you're like, oh, okay, I'll get dessert. And then you're fat. And you're like, damn it, and you lose momentum. So that's my pattern. So as long as I'm single, I'm in shape, right? I got to find a way. So unless I date someone who's in better shape than me and doesn't eat dessert, right? Anyways, so that's my pattern, but I'm aware of that. Another pattern I might have in business is my brain moves super fucking fast. So sometimes it looks like I'm talking, and if you watch me speak long enough, it looks like I skip ideas. Like it looks like I jump from like A to Z. Because most people go A, B, C, D, and my brain just kind of skipped to the end. Well, in business, sometimes that happens too. So early on in my career, when Jack was around, Jack would be like, why the fuck are you making this decision? And I would have to go back and explain the entire process and the entire reason I came to a conclusion. Eventually, Jack just goes, I just trust Marcel's judgment. Just fuck it, I'm with it. But at the beginning, he'd always give me pushback. He's like, what are you talking about? It doesn't make any fucking sense. Like, that doesn't make sense. And I'm like, well, here's why it makes sense. And he goes, okay. So he just learned to trust me, and he even synthesizes information that way now. Point is, sometimes when I'm working on myself or I'm working on someone, I'll jump to the conclusion, and I kind of skip the process. You'll know you're doing a good job because you'll get better at fixing your problems because you just synthesize the information. You're like, you know what? Fuck it, problem's gone. So the only time you should feel like you're stuck with something is because you're in it. Once you step out of it, right, you're too in the forest to see the trees. Once you take a step out of the forest by changing your state, then you can understand that you're in it. When you're really mad at someone and you hate someone, when a breakup is fresh, you're like, oh, you know what, this person is this. Or in a situation where you lose someone you really love, right, if in that moment you're close to them, like even if someone is the worst person ever, on the way here we saw a motorcycle accident, right, like this person's, hopefully they're okay, I called 911 for this person, but anyways, on the way here we saw a motorcycle accident. You can imagine that if that was someone you love dearly and you're holding them, right, and similar to your situation, they pass away in your arms, even if the person had cheated on you, even if the person treated you like shit, even if the person wasn't your match and wasn't aligned with you, because of how you lose them in that last final moment, you're not thinking about how much of a piece of shit they are. You're thinking about how much you love them and all the moments that you're not going to have again. You're thinking about the gratitude you have with them. Well, now they have this permanent memory in your mind, which is not necessarily accurate of, wow, I really love this person is the best, and then it's kind of lodged in your brain that way. Inversely, you can have someone who was amazing for 10 years of your life, and you have one fight, and you break up on the fight, and you hate them, and you only see the bad. And then only when you move on from those emotions, that high, you could see things as they are. When you move on from the love, or you move on from the anger, you could actually look at the relationship objectively and say, this is what it really was. Same thing happens with your patterns. When you're stuck in the pattern, you can't see things clearly. Right? You have rose-colored glasses, whether it's good or bad. You're looking at things in a positive or a negative light. The best way to improve is to look at things as it is, not as your mind is telling you it is. So your mind will trick you. Your mind will play games with you. That's really what the mind does. The mind is always fooling you. And when you get good at seeing the illusion, you can break past the illusion. So what is the illusion? And this is why when I talk to people in sales, I close every deal. This is why I'm able to help people. I had someone come up on stage recently, 2 seminars ago. So not hypnosis certification, the seminar before. And the person's telling me how, I asked in the room, I said, is anyone suicidal? Like 4 people raised their hand. And I look at them and I go, they're not suicidal. And I just knew it. And I walk around the room and I see a guy, caught my eye, and I go, okay, he was sitting where you're sitting, pretty much in the seminar, but there was a few more rows, it was like 200 people. And I see him and I go, that guy's suicidal in my head, and I just clock it and I just kind of look around. I'm like, all right, anyone else? I look at him again. He's not raising his hand. He doesn't want attention. He's not fucking doing it. And he didn't say he's suicidal. I'm like, I like you. You should come up on stage. You should come up. He's like, wow, you just come up. So he comes up and he's talking, whatever. And I go, well, what's going on with you? And then, he's kind of just saying, business hasn't been as good and things aren't working out as much. And then I go, well, yeah. So does this sound like someone who's suicidal, guys? They go, no. I go, well, have you tried to kill yourself? And he goes, and I'm like, yeah, go ahead, tell everyone. And he goes, when I was 15, I tried to kill myself. And because of that, I've been trying to honor myself with work, but the last few weeks business hasn't been going well and I've been getting these thoughts again. And I'm like, I fucking knew it, right? I could just tell. I could tell because I could see his face, I could see his lips, I could see his patterns, I could see how when I said it, he acted surprised and looked away and felt shame and all sorts of stuff. And I was able to read him that way. And I have this intuition that's kind of locked in to see things as they are, not what people want me to see, right? Because when I ask, is anyone suicidal? And he didn't raise his hand, he didn't want me to see it. And in a room of 200 people and there's a bunch of faces in a crowd, it all blends the same. But my mind is still able to pick up on what I think is actually going on. Now, what I always find is the people that are the easiest to hypnotize usually sit on the edge of the row or in the front row because they are the most into it. Those who are the easiest to hypnotize but kind of don't want to be, sit where you're sitting, even though you guys were assigned seats. I'm just giving you perspective. They sit on the ends. Right? Now, what I want you guys to get is this. What does being easy to hypnotize versus not being easy to hypnotize mean? It just means you practice going into trance. Everyone here is already pretty good at going into trance. Everyone here is already good at going into hypnosis. You've all heard my recordings. You were all here yesterday. Everyone's a good subject. But what a good subject really means is that you start to become aware of what's underneath the surface. So when you do this exercise and you're kind of figuring out what are the patterns that are holding you back, here's how you identify good and bad patterns. Times in your life where you felt the most struggle and the most pain and the most negative emotion, those are all patterns. So if you felt heartbroken, right? When I was younger and I had less emotional regulation and less emotional intelligence and I got heartbroken, it was brutal. It felt horrible. I felt like I was going to die. Now, shit happens. You're heartbroken. Move on. I can move on with my day and still feel totally fine. It's not because I don't love someone as much. It's because I'm a lot more aware. I'm able to process my emotions better. Right? There's a different feeling. When I used to get stressed out over 20 grand back in 2020, it felt like I was choking and it was the end of the world and I still fucking found a way out. Now, $500,000 to $1 million doesn't even move the needle, doesn't do anything. So, you will develop this emotional fitness through practicing what I'm about to show you. But I want you to go back in your mind and think about all the times where you had massive stress, anxiety, heartbreak, pain, loss, worry, hard times. Hard times are always, and by the way, This is always true. Hard times are the prerequisite to a hard time is a lack of awareness on things that are going on. In business, it's a lack of foresight. What's happening economically? What's happening in foreign policy? What's happening in my industry? What's happening around the world, right? I believe there will be a pretty big crash next year, 2027, 2028. We'll have a pretty big recession. Now, in my business thrives on recession. When people are doing bad, where do they go? They come to me. So I'm actually going to have a 3-year pretty big head start. Do I want anyone to be in a recession? No, I fucking hate recessions. But I also know that I tend to make more money in recessions. I tend to 10x every time there's some kind of recession. 2020, I 10x, right? But I do know it's going to be a pretty big recession. Now, that being said, I have to also have foresight, because if there's an AI that comes out that can coach people, which your AI already can do that, why would people come work with me? Well, they work with me not because I just coach you. They work with me because what I could do to someone subconsciously, no one else can do, right? In terms of persuasion, no one else can do. So I do have a little bit of an edge. But who knows? Maybe in 5-6 years, I won't have an edge at all. I have no idea. It'll probably become so advanced, it might be able to replicate what I'm doing. But in the meantime, we'll see what happens. In your industry, anytime you've gone out of business, anytime someone's been fucked, anytime something has happened, a deal you lost didn't work out, it's because you didn't have foresight. You didn't look at what could happen, and you put all your eggs in one basket. So if you're working on a deal, and you're like, this is the deal that's going to work. For example, when I'm selling companies, I don't ever count on one buyer. I will have multiple buyers bidding against one another. 1, it allows me to jack up the price. And 2, if 1 or 2 buyers don't come through, there's a fucking line of people ready to take their spot. The problem is if I'm spending 6 months doing this and I'm only looking for one buyer, one prospect, and it falls through, I just wasted 6 months of diligence, 6 months of work, 6 months of time, and then who knows what can happen. In 6 months, their entire industry can collapse, and then I lose the deal. So who knows? All I know is every time I do something, I want to stack the deck. It's like dating. Most people put all their eggs in one basket. I, as a guy, don't put my eggs in one basket. I have multiple threads of people I could talk to. I have multiple options I can decide, and then that's the best way to decide who's going to be the mother of my kids. Why? I'm not just going to fit someone into a box. I'm not going to put a triangle into a square-shaped box because I only have triangles. I'm going to find the best fitting thing, and when I find the piece that fits, that's the piece that's going to have my kids, right? So in my mind, the more options you have, the better and more clear you could think. But as long as you're not addicted to options, right? Same thing with running a business. If you can't think ahead, you can't look forward, well, then you probably get fucked. So anytime anyone gets screwed, for example, my parents in 2008, they got screwed because they didn't anticipate the crash. No one really did, but at the same time, it was a problem. All his eggs were in 3 pieces of real estate, all in that basket. Waited to get permits. By the time he got fucking permits, no banks were giving out loans because the market crashed right after. Literally, it just crashed. So there's no more loans. That's it. Right? Now bills are expensive. You're counting on this thing moving. You're running out of liquidity. My dad had taken a 50% partner. 50% partner tried to steal everything from him. Got another 50% partner to buy that guy out. That guy started to steal everything from him. He gets lawyers to protect him. Lawyers end up owning his 50%. Right? So my dad got totally fucked. But again, if you look at what happened prior, stressed, he made a bad deal. The guy he gave 50% of his stuff for, he gave it away to him for practically nothing. The value of everything else was $15 million. He gave it to him for like $300K. I'm like, I wouldn't have made that deal. I would have had a guy buy the whole thing from me for $15 million. I would have made a more intelligent deal, even $14 million, whatever. Start over after, just get liquid. The point is, he made decisions out of scarcity. He got into the wrong mindset, got into the wrong state, made poor decisions. Poor decisions led to poor outcomes, right? Even the lawyers he picked lawyers that were exploiting him. But because he felt scarcity, couldn't get another lawyer, lawyers end up owning his stuff, right? And it doesn't make any sense. How does a lawyer come protect you for 50% of your stuff and then take 50% of your stuff? It doesn't make any sense. Now, when you look at any time in your situation, anytime your relationship failed, anytime you caught someone doing something wrong, anytime, even if you got sick and you got cancer, okay? There are patterns and behaviors you had that caused it.